All right, what is up, guys? Welcome back to another video or another stream. And as you saw on the title of this, we're going to be talking about the 15 best entry-level finance and accounting jobs. And this was an article that I found on financejobs.net. And I was going to make a video on it, but I was like, you know what? Let me just live stream this. Uh, Whoa, hold on. All right, cool. I'm watching a live stream over here. I wanted to test the audio. All right, so let's go to all right, so there's an article from financejobs.net, which was talking about the 15 best entry-level finance jobs for new grads, right? And I was looking at this and I was like, okay, this kind of like touches everything that is, when it comes to finance, or when it comes to uh the different routes that you can go. It touches almost everything, and it's not just finance. It's like, so many things that go into this. So I wanted to live stream this. So if anyone joins the live stream, you be able to ask questions, and this is also going to be posted on the channel as well. All right. So I'm gonna pull this up so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking at here. All right, how do you do this? All right, there you go. Now you can see my computer. All right, cool. What is okay? Cool. I think it should look like something like that. All right, cool. All right, so this is what I'm looking at here. So this is an article. I'm gonna put the link in the description below. Let me do that right now, actually. Let me do that. I'll make this bigger and I'll put this in the description. Um, if I can figure out how to do that. Let's see here. We can go back over here and we can open this. Uh, no, I'll just put it in the chat actually. So if you guys want to follow through as I go through this, you guys can open that link as well. All right, so I'm also going to be answering some questions here. There's a question in the chat. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. I'll just answer them randomly during the live stream. So I'm gonna, let's see, what can I do here? All right. Uh, Let me fix this right here. All right, now you guys can see my screen. All right, I think I'll put it at this over here. All right, that looks good. All right, so this is the list right here. So the title of the article was 15 best entry-level jobs, entry-level finance jobs in 2021. I think this just doesn't have to apply to 2021. It would have been the same thing in 2020 or 2019, same thing in 2022, probably the same thing in 2023. All right, and these are before you even because there's so many options out there, but these are the best at being like entry level, right? Obviously, once you're in the industry and you know what you want to do and you have a little bit of like actual work experience, you can go to other things as well. So keep in mind that these are entry level, best for entry level people, right? Because usually when you're going into the industry, you're coming from college with an accounting or finance degree, with a finance or accounting degree, and all you know is what you learned in college, right? And not actual work experience, right? So you're not going to be able to have, tangible experience that you can compare things and see what you actually like because you've never done it before. So I think this list here gives a good perspective into like the different ways that you can go, and you can even use this list to jump from job to job, right? From different kinds of jobs. All right, so I'm gonna go into this list. So the first part of this just talks about you know tips for finding jobs. It talks about like the skills, finding things that you like, and it also talks about what is it the requirements of the jobs that you're looking for. And these are things that I talk about on my channel. It talks about like the cover letter, the resumes. It talks about that. I also have a resume template. I think it's in the link in the description of this. You can that's not free because it's my actual resume. I just blurred out a bunch of things. All right, so let's get into this without wasting any time. So the first one is accountant. So, if you go back to the title, it says best entry level finance jobs. Why is accountant the first option here? So accounting is, it's a great field to get into, but the great thing about it is if you're a finance major, right? If you go to any university, you have to learn a little bit of accounting. Accounting is kind of like the foundation of business, right? So if you look into accounting, it helps you understand a business as a whole, like when it comes to the numbers, right? How do you budget for business? How do you make sure that you're making enough money? How do you make sure that how do you figure out where the money is going, where the money is coming from, things like that, right? That comes from accounting. And if you look at finance people, whenever we go in and try to create projections and things like that, like revenue projections or expense reports, we're using data that the accountants already made, right? So the accountants, there might be someone who is works in accounting, that their job is being a bookkeeper, and they keep track of the expenses, like the business expenses, whenever the company has, let's say, a conference to go to, right? So that's probably like a business expense. They pay for the plane ticket, they pay for the meals, they pay for the booth. If you have to set up a booth, they pay for that, right? So whenever you come back, you tell the bookkeeper, and they put that in the bookkeeping process as a business expense. On this day, they went to this, they purchased this and that. It's a business expense. So at the end of the year, when they're filing for taxes, that helps as well, to have those records. But then let's say you're trying to project expenses for next year, right? As someone who works in accounting, you're trying to project, expenses. You're trying to create an expense projection based on, how frequent the company goes to conferences and things like that. You're gonna look at that data that the bookkeeper, who's an accountant, put together, and you're gonna use that data to kind of like project things, into the future. So that's why this is one of the first jobs that you have on here, because I think it is a great entry level job, mainly because it helps you build the foundation of being a great person that works in finance. If your goal is to be a financial analyst, you're gonna be using data that accounting people create. So what's a better way than to learn accounting, like actual real life world experience, and then move on to financial analyst position, because you understand exactly how accounting works, how where the data that you use as a financial analyst is coming from, right? So that's why accounting is like the accountant position is one of the first option on here. So there's a little description here. It talks about many finance jobs will build on accounting skills and knowledge. This is exactly what I was talking about. So essentially, accounting is kind of like the foundation. Think of a house. You have to start off with the foundation. That's accounting when it comes to business at all. All right. So let's see here. So this is gonna be mainly focused on being a general accountant, right? So if you're coming out of college and you're trying to be an accountant, you're not gonna be like an actual accountant or like a CFO or something like that, simply because that requires a license, which is the Certified Public Accounting, the CPA license, which takes a bunch of work experience and your master's degree, and you have to pass the exam, right? So you're not gonna be like a CPA as soon as you graduate, because it requires way more time than just graduating with a bachelor's degree. But you can become what's called a general accountant, right? So for a company, I work with, for me personally, I work with, um, what are the corporate accountants. I work with staff accountants. So those are people that are doing the same thing that a CPA would do, but they're just not licensed to do it, right? They don't have a license to go out there and build their, start their own business where they do the same, provide the same service. So that's the difference between those two. But you're gonna be doing the same thing. So that's why I think for a C to get a CPA license, it requires you to actually have some work experience, right? Once you graduate from college, you work for, I don't know, I think I've never looked at it. I remember someone telling me that. But essentially, it requires some work experience because it's the same thing that you're doing at a company that you're going to be doing as a CPA, but you're just going to be doing it independently. You have the option to do it independently and start your own company. So you can become a general accountant. The most common one is going to be a staff accountant, which is that's like the most common and most general, most entry level that you can work in. Staff accountants usually work in the finance department of a bunch of companies. Well, they can work if the company has a finance department, they can work in that as well. But they usually work in the accounting department. You also have what else do we have? They said you can work in accounting firms for on the payroll or large companies as an independent contractors. Blah blah blah. All of this. Let's see, what else do we have here? So it talks about getting the CPA license, and then it also has kind of like the median national salary for accountants with 1 or 3 years of experience. So I wouldn't really trust these numbers here when it comes to how much you're gonna make as an entry level. So I also have another link here from let's see here if there's yeah, I'm gonna answer all these questions well after this actually. But this is the BLS.gov. So this is a website that collects, like whenever they do the census in the US, this is based on that actually, based on the actual data. It's not estimates or anything like that. Or if it's estimates, it's based on actual data. So this is the best website I'll go to if you're gonna look into how much a position is gonna make on average, like the median salary and things like that. I ought to go to BLS and look for let's try staff accountant. All right, let's try that. All right, so let's try, let's do bookkeeping, accounting, and auditing clerks. Let's see what happens here. All right, so you have so these are usually like hourly jobs. Like sometimes like where it's like if you are a bookkeeping person, when it goes into that, that's more of a hourly job. But 42 sounds pretty fair. It sounds pretty like good for entry level. Because once you're a staff accountant, usually people that are doing those jobs, they're looking to move on to get their CPA or to go back to get their master's after they worked for like a couple years. All right, so let's go back to here. So that's accountant for you, right? You're not gonna be a CPA because you just graduated from college. You're gonna be a general accountant, which could be staff accountant, bookkeeping, and things like that. The next one's gonna be a tax associate. So this is essentially same thing, close to accounting because you do have to understand tax, but it's gonna depend on the level that you're doing this at, right? So there's local level, state level, and federal level, right? So you can specialize in different things here. And usually for this, you don't really need a college degree, right? College degree is gonna help you definitely, but you don't need that. You just need to have work experience, or you could have certifications as a tax associate. You just have a certification that you can get online, and as long as you know how to do it, it works. So this works really well for people that are interested in accounting, right? Because like right now, we're in tax season right now, right? January, February, March, April, May, whenever people are filing for their W-2s and things like that, this is when a lot of people that have, some people are just accountants or general accountants, but they also know how to do taxes, right? As a tax associate, they probably have licensing, they get a license, and during the season, they'll actually make a lot of money because they do that on the side. Hey, let me help you with your taxes. Let me do this. Let me do this. Right. So this one is more of a side hustle. It doesn't require a lot. It doesn't require a college degree, but it does require, the knowledge on how to do this. And you can get this through getting like a certification. And usually people that do this, they work as independent contractors during like tax season. And I know that TurboTax actually hires or Tax Act, like all of these tax websites, they actually have when people subscribe to the premium version. I think, I mean, let's look at this actually. I think it's TurboTax uh, contractors or something like that. I think contractor jobs. Let's go to where's it at? I think this is what they call it. Let's just go to TurboTax. If you ever used TurboTax before, they send you emails talking about, do you want to help people during the during oh, I think it's for TurboTax Live actually. So this you actually get to talk to a professional licensed tax expert, and it's usually like you can apply for these jobs if you have the licensing, if you have license, if you have a license for so your job is going to be to connect with people like me that'll go to this website where they say connect to a live representative or something like that. Say these are some of the people here, I believe. I don't know, but you can actually apply for, things like during tax season where you can use this as a side hustle or something like that. So that's why Tax Associate is such a great option because this, you can actually do this for a living as an independent contractor. You can work for, I used to work for a company when I was in college. It was my junior year where it was a startup company and they could not afford to pay a CPA accountant to do their taxes, so they hired someone who was a tax associate, and they were also a bookkeeper as well. So they would keep track of the expenses, the revenue. I know it's through like QuickBooks where they were able to track everything. Whenever tax season came, their job was to do our taxes, or if they couldn't, they would just send all that information that they did during like the book, all the information that was done during the bookkeeping job. It was sent to an actual accountant that would help us. So this is a pretty good side hustle, and it's also a good starting job. Now, the third one is going to be financial analyst, the one I talk about a lot. So, financial analyst is like it's probably the most less specific job because you can work in any finance industry. So the little description here talks about it's mainly providing investment advice to businesses and individuals, right? It also talks about assessing investment market. I think this description is based on investment banking because you can, with being a financial analyst, you can work at a corporate company, investment bank. You can work at anywhere really as an analyst in the finance department. And he talks about, let's see here, most financial analysts work in banks, insurance companies, and securities firm. So I have personal experiences in insurance companies because that's the industry I work in under finance. I work in the insurance industry. I'm gonna do a video on that. And there's also a bunch of jobs here that actually in the insurance industry that are really great jobs. All right, so financial analysts, we talk about this a lot on the channel. I think this is one of the best things for people that go into finance and all they want to do is work in finance. I want to do finance when I graduate. This is a great starting point being a financial analyst. The only thing you have to choose is going to be what company you work for, right? Because you could be a financial analyst at a mining company. You could be a financial analyst at Walmart. You could be a financial analyst at a bank. You could be a financial analyst at a corporate company that creates a bunch of things. I don't know. But you can be a financial analyst at any company because they need someone to analyze the financials and make them make sense, right? And they need financial analysts to look at the data and convert it into something that's financial and something that makes sense to people that don't want to look at the data. So financial analyst, that's the best option for people that only want to work in finance. They want nothing to do with accounting, because if you kind of like enjoy accounting, you can start off as an accountant, right? A general accountant. You could be a tax associate, you could do that, and then eventually move on to financial analyst. But if you don't want to do any of these things, just go to being a financial analyst. There's so many financial analyst jobs, but I feel like people look at the big companies like, hey, I want to work at Google. So I'm gonna apply for the financial analyst role at Google, but you don't realize every company probably has a financial analyst role, right? It might not be labeled financial analyst, might be financial associate, financial assistant, financial this, but it's pretty much the same thing. All right, the next one here is going to be credit analyst. All right, I think I'm going to take a little break here before I break into credit analyst. We're going to take a quick little break, and I'll be back in a second. We are back. All right, so the next one was credit analyst. So this one is, I'm not really a huge, big fan of this, but this is really easy to get into because you can work as a credit analyst for a company that specializes in housing loans and things like that, where you analyze people's credits. So the description here talks about, you might work for a bank, asset management company, equity firm, or a financial institution. So this job primarily function is to assess customers' credit application. So anything that requires someone having to get credit or apply for credit to, in terms of money, obviously, that's going to require you to look into them. So it's obviously like a research job to where you're looking at the documents they provide. A company might say like, we need to see your 2 years of employment at a company and your pay stubs and all that. So that's it requires a lot of research. So if you are into research, like researching numbers and making numbers make sense, creating patterns and things like that, that's definitely going to work out for you. And this, you don't really need a college degree to do this. I know it says most credit analysts have college degrees, but it's possible to enter the field with a certification program. Yeah, definitely. A lot of people go into this with a certification program. And also, you can just go and get on the job training if the company is desperate enough to hire someone who has no prior experience and they want to train you. They'll definitely help you. This company, this actually has a lot of high wages. If you look at companies like Open Door, right? One of these companies that have been Open Door, the real estate companies that are, you can literally buy a house online, right? So they were hiring a bunch of credit analysts. They were getting a bunch of credit analysts um, because they were getting so many applications to buy homes or to, things like that. So they were hiring a lot. That's why you probably see the salary as, so said credit analyst wages start at 39,000, may go up to 100,000. So it fluctuates like that simply because of these new fintech companies that make things like that easier, and they're willing to pay more in order to get more people. Say the average annual salary for people in this position is $64,000. Obviously, definitely more than more than the industry average for starting. All right, so said excludes loan management, portfolio management, investment banking. All right, we'll move on to the next one, which is data analyst. So this is my second favorite thing from financial analyst. I love being a data analyst because being a data analyst allows you to be able to be great at all of these jobs, actually. Because I think in order to be an accountant, you need to be able to work with data, right? Because you're working with numbers, which is data. In order to be a financial analyst, a tax associate, working with data, whether you're looking at expenses, revenues, projections, things like that, that's data. In order to be a financial analyst, you're definitely working with a lot of data. In order to be a credit analyst, you're working with a lot of data, right? And it's not always going to be papers. Data may be in the Microsoft Excel, or maybe it's in a Word document. Now, this takes us to being a data analyst. I think this is the most important thing. I think everyone that works in finance and accounting, they are a data analyst, but you're just not an expert yet. You understand it to the extent of your job, right? But there are people that go on and really focus on this. So the description here says, if you love finance and technology, a data analyst position might be your ideal calling. This job requires the collection, organization, and analysis of data. Depending on the job, you might be reviewing sales performance, analyzing stock and inventory, or even monitoring marketing, and social media campaigns. So, like I said, being a data analyst, this is the core of everything, right? Because if you're working in business or finance or accounting business, data is what we work with. And the goal for this is to make data-driven decisions, right? So if you've ever had a CEO that makes a decision off like, well, I feel this way, we're gonna fire 20,000 people. What they usually do is they have data analysts that bring this data that they might give to accounting people, finance people to compile, and they make data-driven decisions. So if we cut off our workforce by 30%, this will allow us to, to increase our revenue by 20%, and this will allow us to not, things like that. So being a data analyst is really, really important because not a lot of people know how to work with data. A lot of people only know how to work with data after they get it, right? If I'm a financial analyst, I'm getting the data from an accountant. If it's an accountant, they're getting the data from the system or whatever, or from a data analyst, things like that. So it says data analysis involves spotting patterns, producing reports, sharing insights with others in a collaborative work environment, depending on the specific type, blah blah, all of that. Between 51,000 and 65. It's pretty good. I know this is one of the most trending kind of like careers right now in business, like data analysis. I know Google has a Google certification data analysis that promises you that they're going to help you find a job, and you probably work at Google after that. Um, let's see here. What else do they have? Most analysts have a bachelor's degree, but the graduate level schooling. So one thing I would tell you about this is because you don't need a college degree. But if your goal should be promoted into like a higher position, then obviously you need a college degree. But for entry level, you just need the certification. There's literally a Google. I'm gonna show you here. Google data right here. This is the most popular. It's on Coursera or Course Hero, Coursera. This is it right here. This is Google's one of the top instructors here. It has 40,000 ratings, which are 4.8 stars. Yeah, this is one of the best ones actually. I actually did it. I have the certification. I did it a long time ago, probably like 2 years ago or a year ago actually. This is really good. It teaches you. It goes from Excel, teaches you how to use. I think there's like a guide here. So it's courses. So it has a bunch of courses. So the first one's fundamentals of data. It's like kind of like explains what data is and where you can find data and things like that. And then you go to data exploration, how you can find data. You go to process from dirty to clean, all of that. Let's see, what else do we have? Um, but it goes into first one is like you understanding data and how it works and things like that, and it goes into how to use Microsoft Excel, which is the biggest tool you can have in business, accounting, finance. Excel is key, and it goes into programming. I forgot what language they were using. I don't know if they have it on here. So they were using R, the language that's called R, which a lot of people use for data visualization. I know you can use a bunch of other tools for data visualization, but R is allows you. It's like think about programming, right? It allows you to have a lot of control over a lot of things. This has like 2 million listeners, 89 courses. Oh, that's Google as an instructor. But yeah, this is a great certification to have. I'm not like vouching for it or promoting it, but I've done it and I think it's great. All right, so that's data analyst. It allows you to, you have the option, you have the ability to make data-driven decisions and really understand how data works, how to clean up data, how to make data make sense. Next one is budget analyst. This one is a little interesting because this could fall under being a financial analyst because I know some financial analysts that do budget analysis, but this falls more specifically on working for annual budgets, helping keep expenses on track, financial reports, um, things like that. So this actually have a personal experience with this one being a budget analyst. I worked with the city of San Antonio. It was an internship where we were working on the budget of the fire department, right? And you get to see kind of like the different expenses that go into it, and then you get to go to the city manager and present the budget, and they either tell you, ask you like, why do you need to purchase a $2 million building, right? Things like that, or why is this an expense? And then you get to explain all of that. So I've had experience with that, and I know a lot of people that work in budgeting. When it comes to budget analysts, they work for local governments. They work for the federal government. They do that. They work in the treasury, where they work on the budget and things like that. So this is definitely a pretty good career to go into. And I know some people that work as budget analysts for the federal government that majored in economics. Um, so it said there are budget analyst jobs in both the private and public sector. So obviously, private sector, I've never really had experience with this or seen it. But in the public sector, definitely, which is government, obviously like local government, federal government and things like that. Um, yeah, public sector, definitely. So it says 20% of all budget analysts work in government. This means, all of that. But yeah, they get paid good money, actually. They get paid a lot of money. Uh, yeah, you definitely need a bachelor's degree when it comes to this because you're not gonna get into a government job with no bachelor's degree like that, where you might be working in the treasury department with no degree. Let's see here. The next one is going to be economist. I know I was just talking about economics being a good major to get into being a budget analyst for the federal government or for the local government. But you also have economics. If you're interested, it's mostly going to be research, like it's research based when you're talking about being an economist. I know you see them on the news every time. Yeah, that's where they do a lot of research, and most times you're not even on the front end of things, you're on the background doing a lot of research, right? But usually it's like the science behind the financial world, like how they describe it on here, science behind the financial world. And let's see here. Yeah, it's usually like economists work for the government for the most part. I've never met someone who says, I'm an economist. I work for this private, I work for this corporate company. They usually work for the government. And sometimes they have their own, companies and things like that that, publish, articles related to economics. Some of them usually get their PhD and they go teach that in college, or they publish research papers and things like that on the economy. Some of them work as you can see here, others work for the government or take on roles as advisors or consultants for organizations. So this is a good way to get into consulting. Since most companies don't really have an economist, as private companies have an economist as like a whole department for our economy department. So they usually get them as consultants because they usually have a bigger picture of, how things are going. They can definitely help you work on your budget. They can help you work on your projections if you're trying to project revenue, and then things like that. Let's see here. So the next one is going to be an insurance claims adjuster. So this one is, I'm pretty sure if you've ever been in an accident and you took your car, use your insurance, to take your car to a garage or like a repair shop or body shop. Usually an adjuster comes to, look at the car, take pictures, assess the damage, and they report back to your insurance, and your insurance gives you an estimate, or they give you how much they're gonna pay for it. If you have a deductible, then you pay that. But essentially, that's what claims adjusters do. Sometimes they work in the back office, where they're actually looking at the claims coming in, and they have like different rules and things like that that they look at in order to adjust the claims. Sometimes I might claim $100,000 on something, and right, and they'll look at it to kind of like adjust it and things like that. So it's more like an investigation type of job, right? If you're gonna go to assess a car damage, right? Because what usually happens, let's say you get into an accident, right? And you call your insurance, and then they send a tow truck to take your car to a body shop where it's gonna get fixed. What happens is once it gets to the body shop, the people that actually work at the body shop, like the mechanics and things like that, they're gonna look at the truck. Okay, this is gonna cost. This is $5,000. Usually, the insurance company has a relationship with the body shop that they send your car to, or they recommend that you send your car to, right? So they will take the car there. The person that fixes it, or whoever is responsible for that at the body shop, they're gonna look at it like, okay, this is $5,000 to fix this because we need to get this part, this part, this part, this part. The next day, the claims adjuster comes in. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna take a second look and be like, actually, you can get this part for cheaper. Instead of, getting this for 200, you actually get it for 150 over here. Why pick the expensive? And then so they adjust the claim, right? So they don't have to pay 5,000 out of pocket as an insurance company. They'll pay, they'll probably get it down to like 3,000 or 3,800 or something like that. So that's their job, to look at in different things. And it's not just in car insurance. It's a lot of things. You can think about, a house burns down and things like that. Let's see here, what else does it say here? So others work on behalf of an insurance company to assess responsibility in an accident and get the most money for their claimants. So it's not just to to um to charge less on the thing. Sometimes it's like if you are the victim, then they will talk to the opposite, the other insurance company to get you more money, right? Like, oh, actually, this caused this and this and that. This is gonna cost this. So there's two sides to this as well, right? If you ever find yourself in a settlement and you have insurance, a claims adjuster is gonna come help you out with getting the most money out of it. Um, let's see here. So unlike many jobs in the financial sector, insurance adjusters do not require a college degree. Yeah, these definitely do not. However, some employers still prefer applicants, all of that. But yeah, so these jobs don't really require a college degree, but they're a great entry level if you want to get into insurance, because you can see we're gonna move on to some advanced insurance things here. All right, so moving on to the next one, which is an insurance underwriter. So this is a great job. I work with a lot of underwriters at what I do right now, and this is a super interesting position because if you don't want to be, let's say you don't want to be a claims adjuster where you got to go into the field and look at all these things, you can be an underwriter. So essentially, what they do is they evaluate applications and determine whether, to provide coverage or things like that, what terms should apply. So think of it this way, right? Think of it as, let's say I own, so there's a bunch of underwriting companies that specialize in this, and a bunch of insurance companies have underwriting departments with underwriters. So let's say I'm a company that, um, provides insurance, and I have an underwriting department. So what's going to happen is once a client, I'm going to take on this client. Let's say Walmart wants to come on board. What's going to happen is I'm going to ask Walmart, what benefits would you like? What would you like? This net. Walmart's going to tell me exactly what they want. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it to my underwriting department. Underwriting department is going to go ahead and shop for those. Let's say Walmart says we want a medical coverage, full medical coverage for all employees, right? The underwriting department is going to go ahead and look at the possibility of that, right? Can we actually cover your employees? Can we actually, they look at things like it says here, so they establish the rates, right? Sometimes it's between the underwriters and the actual insurance company. So think of your company as the insurance company, right? Let's say the other department, or if you're shopping for different insurance from a different company, so their job is to establish the rates, right? So to kind of like determine how much you have to pay, and sometimes those rates are inflated so that they don't lose money. It kind of like cushions any kind of like risk that they have. And sometimes they won't take on customers because you're too risky, right? It says, and without potential customers will carry too much risk, right? So that's your job mainly, to kind of like weed out customers that have a lot of risk. Because any company can say, we want medical insurance for our employees, but then based on research, you see that they're likely not to pay their premium so that we can have their employees covered, right? So that's kind of like what underwriters do. They kind of like, establish the rates, and they kind of like determine which clients carry on, they have a lot of risk, and how to kind of like mitigate that risk, right? Sometimes they might charge them a lot more premium so that they can kind of like have a cushion for if anything goes south. um so most underwriters have a bachelor's degree. That's true. But actually, if you want to work in insurance, you don't really need a degree. In any position in insurance, you just need to have, it's either you have a degree to start learning to go into an entry level position, or you've done something like maybe a claims adjuster, right? That doesn't require a lot of entry level. You don't need a degree. You just go in there and learn on the job. So if you've done that, and you can move on to insurance underwriter, which might require you to have maybe a year or two of experience in insurance so that you understand claims and premiums and things like that. Um, yeah, so it's mostly like insurance, understanding what insurance is, like medical, dental, vision, short-term disability, long-term disability, vision, all things like that. And also understanding how to be a data analyst, which is the analysis part, right? Get all this information. Now, how do you analyze if a client is going to be more likely to pay? How are you going to analyze what the rates are going to be, based on the numbers that you get, the data that you get? But this is such a great career field to get into, being an underwriter. You can be, you go from underwriter trainee to junior, senior, or like, it goes all the way up. The next one is personal financial advisor. So I think this should not be on this list actually, because to be a personal financial advisor, you need experience as a financial advisor in general, right? Because think about this: if I was a millionaire, I was a billionaire, why would I hire someone who is entry level into the personal financial advising space? I would want to get an experience that in a person that has a lot of industry experience to do this, to personally, you know, financially advise someone. So I don't think this should be in here, like the personal financial advisor part of this, because this is not, you're not going to get out of college and become a personal financial advisor with no actual real life experience. All right, so moving on to the next one, which is an actuary. So this is similar to being an underwriter, but a lot of actuaries specialize in, it's not just insurance that they specialize in, but one of the biggest industries that you're going to find actuaries are going to be insurance, but they can work in any industry. So their job is to analyze the risk of any business decision, but numbers wise, right? Analyze the risk. It also predict the outcome and how you can mitigate that outcome if it's negative, right? So it's that these individuals come from a strong mathematical background and knowledge and all this and that, financial theory and statistics. So it's a combination of math, finance, and statistics. My brother is an actuary, so hopefully you'll be on his channel pretty soon. I have a podcast. He filmed one of my podcast episodes. Go ahead and check that out in the description below. He was on a podcast with me. I think it's the second episode where we talked about like college and things like that. But he's an actuary. But so essentially, what they do is kind of like analyze risk, right? If it's the insurance industry, they're analyzing, doing the same thing as underwriters do. They're looking at what the rates should be. If this client is more likely to not pay us, to pay their monthly premium of $100,000, let's charge them $150,000 so that they can underpay by $130,000. They can underpay. They can pay $130,000. They'll still be covered because the actual plan cost $100,000, right? But so it's like it's really smart. They also calculate things like uh, think about life insurance and things like that. Your age, your health. So those are the people that are gonna be looking into that. Based on your health, I should be charging you more because you're more likely to die pretty soon and make a claim on your life insurance. So they look into things like that. Next one, we have a compensation and benefits specialist. So I actually work with people like this that are compensation and benefits specialists. They usually work in the HR department of a company where, if you ever have a question on, this is more HR related, but you have kind of like a finance background, benefits, insurance background, where if an employee says, hey, am I covered if I do this, or should I pick this insurance? These are going to be the people that are going to be able to help you. So let's see here. What else they have? So they work in human relations departments. They oversee employee compensation and benefits within a company, determining fair wages. So it goes further into just benefits, right? That will fill needs of employees and employer. And if you guys are unfamiliar with insurances, sometimes there's a split, right? So if you have medical insurance, that's why they always say it's cheaper to get medical insurance when you're working for a company because there's always an employer and employee split. So if you have a medical plan, it might cost $1,000 a month, right? But you're only paying $300 a month. That's because there's a split. So if the company's getting their insurance company, if the company A is getting their medical insurance from company B wants $1,000 because that's how much it costs, right? That's what the employer is going to pay, but they're charging you $300. That's because you're paying the difference. Your company's paying the difference. So it's called the employer and employee split, where they'll to make it easier on you. But if you are self-employed, you have to pay the whole thousand that insurance company B charges. So these kind of like things that that these people uh specialize in. Day-to-day duties include maintaining compensation databases, researching job market, handling annual performance reviews. It's kind of like an HR job with a little bit of a twist into finance when it comes to insurance and things like that. You also have a financial auditor. So this is more like I would call this more like an accounting job, but in it could also be a financial analyst job because you could work in a company and be in the finance department and just audit the if you have a bunch of clients, you can audit at the end of the year, audit the books and things like that. Make sure that everything is in compliant with the generally accepted accounting principles, which is also called GAAP, which is what you learn in accounting. That's like what they kind of like put in your head. You need to learn GAAP, like all this and that. Uh, but yeah, so you essentially just reviewing. Maybe it's an income statement. You're looking to see if anything doesn't make sense. It's maybe it's revenue, like things like that. You're just looking to see if something does not make sense, right? That's when they'll usually catch people that are money laundering, people that are cooking the books. That's how they catch them. I think to do this as well, you need accounting experience, right? Because it's gonna allow you to be able to understand how the income statement is built, how the balance sheet is built, how the statement of cash flows is built, and if you understand how something is built, you're gonna be able to read that entire thing. Next one's gonna be a loan officer. This does not require any college experience. You can apply to be a real estate company where you just look at loans, right, and things like that. So he says that a loan officer is a financial expert who has extensive knowledge of loans and their requirements and conditions. They may specialize in commercial loans, mortgages, personal loans, combination of above. So you can definitely work at one of those quick loan companies where you just analyze loans, right? It's pretty much as like being a credit analyst. So they may also hold duties as credit analysts. So it's pretty much the same position as being a credit analyst, where you're looking at people's credits, which is usually tied to loans, right? If you're looking at someone's credit, they're trying to get a loan, for the most part. And it's usually this is more of because a credit analyst, that is more of like a research job in the background, the back office. But think of a loan officer as someone who's on the front, someone who actually talks to the person, right? Says as a loan officer, you'll be working with people. You often be meeting with clients one on one to discuss their financial goals, things like that. So this is more of being a financial advisor where you actually have to meet with clients. So this could be kind of like the opposite of being a credit analyst. If you like people, be a loan officer. That's the opposite of that. Last one is going to be financial planner. So this is the one I actually recommend instead of where's it at? Financial personal what is it? Personal financial advisor. Become a financial planner because this requires a lot of this actually requires certifications. I don't know if you need a degree for this. I don't think you need a degree because with your job, you're gonna be kind of like looking at people's. You can work for a company as a financial planner, or companies that specialize in this, and you look into people's finances and usually advising them about investments and savings and spending, budgeting, things like that. But this, you actually need certifications if you're gonna be working with investments, because in order to give someone any advice on investing, that they take on for you not get sued, you need to be licensed. You need a securities license. So this requires a bunch of license. They're pretty easy to get. I forget because I used to want to do this back in the day, and I was looking into the licenses. They're pretty easy. The exams are pretty easy. If you're someone who is into finance already, exams are pretty easy to get into. Uh, but yeah, so that's pretty much it when it comes to financial planner. So those are the 15 entry level jobs minus the personal financial advisor. Never, never, ever aim on doing this unless you've worked for a couple years as a financial planner or financial advisor under another company. Once you've built a reputation and experience, you can venture into becoming a personal financial advisor for an entertainment person that's rich, football players, basketball players, just rich people. All right, so that is pretty much it. I'll look at some of the comments here. All right, so the first one was the best route for financial analysts. So best route is to be a financial analyst right after college. That's what I would say. Sometimes it's so hard to, a lot of people make it so hard to find these types of jobs, but you have to realize that there are there's a financial analyst job for every company. There's a finance, and sometimes you focus so much on being a financial analyst that you forget that there's these entry level jobs that can lead you into being a financial analyst. If a company has a staff accountant position open, apply for that because that leads you into a bunch of other things like financial analysts. If they have, data analyst position open, do that. That's gonna build your foundational skills onto becoming a better financial analyst. Um, so my recommendation when it comes to like the best route, it'd be definitely be a college degree because I think a lot of financial analysts they look at your college degrees. You could be an accounting, anything in business really will help you, but especially accounting and finance, that's really gonna help you. I don't know if you have any additional questions. I don't know if I answered your question, but let me know if I did not. Next one is I'm in my third year in finance and I don't really have a passion for it or accounting. I'm not sure what I want to do. So it looks like you just went into finance just because it's finance. Uh, but what I would say to you is what are you passionate about, right? Do you want to start your own business? What do you want to do? Do you want to join the family business? What do you want to do? Because with finance and accounting, these are such valuable skills that you don't have to go work in finance or accounting. You just start your own business. And if you understand accounting and finance, you're going to be able to manage your own finances. Because a bunch of startup businesses fail every time. And this is because they have no idea. how, like, where the money is coming from, right? They have no idea how to budget. They have no idea how to reinvest the money back into the business. They have no idea how to, you know, to have tax write-offs, right? So if you have you're not really passionate about it, you don't have to go work for, in a finance department or an accounting department. You can start your own business, and this knowledge is gonna help you. It's gonna set you apart from other business, excuse me, other business people that just go into business without understanding money, and then a couple years later they're like, my business has never made money, right? They have to hire this consulting financial analyst, and it's going to cost them more money. But if you have a good understanding of this, it's going to help you. So, excuse me. So if you're not passionate about finance, um, you don't have to go work into like a specifically finance job. You can just use it as knowledge to do what you're passionate about. It's gonna help you even if in your personal life. Accounting and finance help you in your personal life. If you want a budget, you're trying to buy a house, you want to buy a car. This is all, understanding loans, interest rates, and things like that. This is all finance and accounting. Next one is asset management and consulting. So asset management is a good entry level position, and as well as consulting, but these aren't as easy to get into. You need it's good for people that have really high GPAs. It's also for good for, for asset management. A lot of people go into this, as like wealth in a wealth management firm, and you kind of like start off as a junior, and this goes back into being where's it at, a financial planner, because some of the same certifications that are required in asset management or things like that is you essentially, maybe advising people how to buy stocks. You need certifications for that. But yeah, asset management is a good one. Consulting, that's a little hard to get into because a lot of people that are consultants, think about this, right? Let's say you are a Fortune 500 company, right? And you need a consulting company to hire, I mean, to help you increase your sales, right? What you usually do is you go to a consulting company like I forget. I think Anderson Young has a consulting, like, a department and things like that. But usually what happens is they want consultants that have certifications. They want consultants that have experience, right? Because, there's if you're working for a consulting company, you're gonna the company is gonna assign you to jobs where they're gonna get paid more, and they usually get paid more if someone has a certification. Think about CPAs. You could be a CPA who's a consultant. You're gonna get paid more than someone who does not have a CPA license, right? Simply because you have that, it looks as if you have more experience, right? Which probably is, but you get paid more for being a certification. And usually, why it's not a good starting job is because you're probably not gonna um, have enough experience to actually consult. And a lot of people that become consultants are people that have worked in the industry, right? If you've worked as a financial analyst for 5 years, right, and you're like, you know what, I don't want to work for anybody, I want to be a consultant, right? Now you can do that because you have the actual work experience. You're not just, you're not experimenting as you try to give someone advice at the same time. You've actually done it. So that's why consulting is not a good starting job, because it's probably going to be stressful, because you're going to be put in a position where, even though you might be like research and things like that, but you're still in a position where you're giving someone advice. But if you've never actually had real life experience, you're not going to have that confidence. But asset management is great if you work for a wealth management firm, where you're learning on the job as you go. But yeah, so that is pretty much it when it comes to all this. I've gone over all the different all the different jobs. If anyone has any questions, let me know before we end this. But thank you so much for watching, guys. We are gonna end this. I'm gonna go to or do some other stuff, but oh, there's another question right before we leave. how much will an Excel MOS help you when you're trying to find a finance job? So my number one question, number one, not question, number one answer is Excel is everything in business and especially finance. Excel is everything. There are jobs that are just looking like we don't care if you know finance or business or accounting, just know how to use Excel. Just know how to do a pivot table, know how to do a bunch of VLOOKUPs, HLOOKUPs, things like that. So Excel is really, really important. If you can actually get a license in Excel, certification in Excel as an Excel expert, and you put that on your resume, you're gonna stand out. Because a lot of people that claim they know Excel, they just know the basics, right? If you know the basic and put that on your resume, it's fine, right? But if you actually have the certification to Excel, you know how to use Excel, you know how to do all these advanced things, is really important. There are jobs that are, because what happens is, I work in a job where I use Excel every day. When we hire people, we're looking for people that know how to use Excel. But at the same time, not everyone knows how to use Excel, which is fine because there's on the job training, right? But you can only train someone so much, right? You can train someone who has kind of like the base knowledge. They understand, okay, if VLOOKUP is this, but I've never done it before, right? And then you teach them on the job. But think about it this way. It takes time to teach someone how to use Excel, right? Why not just hire someone that knows how to use Excel so you don't have to take the time to teach them as much as someone who does not know how to use Excel. So Excel is really important when it comes to business jobs and finance. Answering your question, finance, Excel is the top skill that you need. You don't even need to know finance. You just need to have a general idea of finance. But if you know how to use Excel, you make it make sense. Because if you know how to use Excel, that means you understand data. You understand how to make data make sense, how to manipulate data into ways that will make sense to you, to your brain, and to someone else who's looking at it. Think about doing what do you call a pivot table, right? Rearranging the data. I have a bunch of videos on here. I think I have my Excel for Analysts series, which I might carry on next week. I don't know, but yeah, that knowing how to rearrange the data and things like that, making it make sense. That's all you need to know when it comes to finance. That's all it is. Working with data, numbers though, which is numbers related. So if you're able to do that, if you're able to clean up the data, check the quality of the data, be able to make it make sense, and maybe even do presentations in front of clients and things like that, that will definitely take you far. So Excel is really important. That's probably the most important skill. I mean, knowing finance is good. You don't need to be an expert in finance, but you do need to be an expert in Excel. That will definitely set you apart from a lot of people in this industry that they have, just a little general idea of what Excel is. But yeah, so that is pretty much it. If nobody else has a question, I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream here. This was what, an hour? This was supposed to be like 30 minutes, I believe. But yeah, so we're gonna end the stream unless anybody else has a question. But other than that, thank you so much for watching, guys. Thank you for tuning in. We might do another one tomorrow. If you have any questions, follow me on Instagram at GoatNash. You can DM me any questions. If you want to live stream on a specific topic, let me know. You can leave a comment under any of my videos. I can just send that to me on Instagram as well. But I'm gonna be signing out.